Munciana Courtside Show 3, Season 5. Mike Lingenfelter alongside Randy Gardner last week of being a single man. Next week, by the time you see this show, he'll have a ring on his left hand and be locked down for life. But let's enjoy him this week because this is the last time you'll see him in this state of mind. Rando, get us going, Biggs.
All right. We talked about last week being Blues Day on Tuesday. A lot of matches, a lot of pretty good matches. You know, you look at the Columbus East at that point, 1-1, and Seymour was 3-0, and Columbus East pulled out in 5 at Seymour.
Big win for Columbus East, and they needed that. You know, Stacy Bernard's team's a young team. They need to collect as many big wins as they can early in the season to build their confidence, and they're going to get better as the year goes on, but that's a huge win.
Yeah, we talked about the Delta-Yorktown games. Around sectionals would be probably a good game with no Molly Hunt. Yorktown took care of business.
Well, Molly Hunt's a big difference maker, but I don't know. They could have Molly Hunt. They could have, what's the Hunt dude's name from Mission Impossible? Tom Cruise plays. They can have him too, and it's not going to matter. Yorktown's awfully good, but big-time sweep for them over Delta.
Yeah. Talked about Chittard and Fishers, both undefeated at that point. Went to that game. Fishers took care of business in 3, and I'll tell you, the Fishers' third set, they were rolling all cylinders.
Well, Fishers is going to be tough to deal with. I mean, whenever you're as well set as Fishers is with Rose Duffy and as well led as you are with Rose Duffy, and then you sprinkle in a couple of athletes around that, and they've got 4 or 5 great athletes. I mean, that's a tough matchup for Chittard.
Yeah.
Tough week for Chittard, in fact. They got pushed around a little bit.
Yep. Then we talked about Avon and Carmel. Carmel went to Avon, and they went 5, but Avon brought it home.
Yeah, that's a shocker.
Yeah.
That was a shocker. Those guys going 5. I thought Avon was a better team. I didn't in any way anticipate Carmel taking them 5, but everybody said all year long Carmel's a real deal, and evidently they are.
Yeah. Then we got Fort Wayne Leo, the battle of the Fort Wayne teams. Leo versus Dwenger. Dwenger won in straights. They're great. I mean, they're a great
Dwenger's
team.
a really good team, and Leo, we were wondering, they lost an awful lot of people from last year's team, and a great setter, and for them to come out 6-0 was huge.
Yeah.
But Dwenger's the better team. And them or Carroll right now are trending towards being the power in Fort Wayne.
Yep.
So that'll be interesting to see.
Yep. Won and lost teams. We had Center Grove at Cathedral, and Center Grove swept them.
Yeah.
MJ Hamill the ground.
Setting again. MJ Hamill provides great leadership, but also provides great accuracy from the setting position. And as we noted, as those kids start to become more and more terminal, she's going to put people in positions to score. She's just got some young guys that need to learn how to score. Yeah. And Cathedral's very similar, just not as seasoned at the setter's position, and that was going to be a tough game for Cathedral to win.
Yep. We talked about Heritage, off to a good start. They took on Carroll, but everything sounds like Carroll just had too many weapons.
Well, yeah, Carroll, like I said earlier, I mean, Dwenger and Carroll are going to be the pride of the Summit City, and there's some very, very good teams. I mean, up there, Heritage, Leo, Concordia, Belmont. But Dwenger and Carroll, I think, right now are the pride of the Fort Wayne, and it doesn't surprise me that a good Carroll team sweeps a very good Heritage.
Yeah. LaPorte on Thursday night went to Crown Point, swept those guys. LaPorte's now one of the teams we've been talking about. They're 8-0 on the year.
Well, LaPorte, the Slicers are always in the hunt, and they're always good, and it's the same thing. We just don't hear enough about the teams in the North. But Crown Point, obviously, in a rebuilding mode. They're going to be a lot like that Columbus East team that we talked about. As the season goes on, they're going to get better. Now, will they get better in time to be an impact player at the end of the year? I don't know.
Yeah.
But they lost an awful lot as well. But take nothing away from it. LaPorte 6-0 at this point, and kind of starting to trend towards being the best team out of the North, them and Penn.
Yes, no doubt.
Bless you.
I don't know. Another game was Yorktown. They played Carmel. Carmel came to Yorktown, actually. I had that wrong earlier. Yep. And Yorktown swept them.
Yeah, Yorktown, 2 of the 3 sets just spanked them. Carmel did get to 20 in one of the sets, and that's almost a moral victory at these guys right now. They've swept everybody they've played this season.
Rolling.
And they are rolling, but they're rolling in a hungry manner. And Carmel, just not enough firepower. And once again, efficiency is going to be the real critical element. I'm going to talk about it a little bit in a second about taking care of the ball, but you cannot make errors against them. And Carmel's still a little too error prone at this stage of the season to take down teams.
Yeah, and then it doesn't help that Carmel's playing everybody in the neighborhood.
Yeah, Carmel's tough schedule.
The Fighting Brian Murray's Brebeuf still undefeated. They took down Heritage Christian in 4.
Yeah, I think the neat thing about that is Heritage Christian taking it 4.
Yep.
They've got some. They're well set. The Snyder kid does a nice job dishing the ball. Colvin is a big middle. They've got a couple of big middles. They're physical and they're as well coached as anybody in the state. Michelle York, make no mistake about it, they're coming back this year to coach that Heritage Christian team. Is as good a coach as there is in the state of Indiana, and she's a lifer.
Yeah.
And so I was almost as surprised. I thought Brebeuf would win that game, but I was almost as surprised that Heritage Christian took them 4 and really felt like they could have taken them 5. Yeah. Brebeuf off to a great start, and like I said, Brian Murray kind of nailed down that this was going to be one of the years he was looking for, and he wasn't off. They're undefeated and they're off and running.
Yep. We'll talk about Lazy Boys games of the week. Tuesday night, got 3 really top-notch games. There's plenty of games. Mm-hmm. These are a couple that stood out. We got the battle, Carmel heading to Center Grove.
Well, Carmel and Center Grove will be, those are 2 upstarts. It's weird to call them upstarts because they're both legacy programs. I mean, long histories of greatness. I think that'll really, the big determiner in that match, once again, is going to be the setting and leadership at Center Grove.
Yep. Roncalli heading to Cathedral. Everything we heard from Roncalli, that Libero is a stud.
Well, that's the battle of the parochials. That's 2 great squads, 2 great histories. I mean, I don't know if anybody has a longer history than Roncalli and Cathedral in the Indianapolis area. All records are out on that game. That's one of those ones that they're going to go to war regardless. That should be an entertaining affair.
Yep. The game we were talking about Tuesday night, the battle of the undefeated.
The highlight game for us this week, Yorktown and Wapahani. Both undefeated. Yorktown's bit off a little more of a schedule to this point than Wapahani. One of the things I was reading and I was talking to coaches about, there's a thing called IPE, and it's in-play efficiency. And it's a statistic, and I'm going to read off so coaches can understand this. This is going to give you a guide to beating. The good news is if you can do this, you can beat Yorktown. The bad news is I don't know if anybody can do it. IPE is this, in-play efficiency. Your goal is 80%. You want to be in play 80% of the time. So, for instance, the example I give you is Texas versus Penn State a couple years ago. Texas loses a tough 5-setter to Penn State. 167 points. So you take the points your team scores. Texas in that match scored 167 total points. You take team errors. In that match, they had 20 hitting errors. Now, you getting blocked to the floor is an error. Hitting the ball out of bounds in the net is an error. They had 20 hitting errors, 8 service errors, 5 passing errors, 2 ball handling errors, 1 blocking error for 36 total errors. So what happens is you take the total points in the match and divide it by the team's errors. In this case, 167, and then you divide out the 36 errors, and it comes out to about 0.784 when you do the math. About 78% of the time they're in system or in play. Not enough to win a championship. In high school, for you to beat Yorktown, you're going to have to be in play 80% or better. You don't do that, you're not beating Yorktown. You just won't. You can't win the match unless you have those numbers. So with that said, Yorktown just taking care of the ball, making no mistakes, and understand this Yorktown team is on a roll. I like Yorktown in that game against your alma mater and my one-time home. I like Yorktown in 3.
I'm with you.
I don't think that Wapahani can keep the ball in play enough to beat that team.
No, I agree with you 100%. I mean, Yorktown went through 4 or 5 matches in one day this weekend and really controlled every single match.
Didn't give up more than 18 points.
Yeah.
So
So I agree. Thursday night, we got Heritage Christian now 6-3 on the year, heading to Park Tudor, which is now 7-0.
I like that battle. I like both those teams are upstarts. Like I said, I like that Heritage Christian team. Great makeup, great coach. That should be a really engaging match in the Indy area.
Yeah, no doubt. Thursday night, the fight of the South. We got New Albany now 7-1, heading to Providence 6-1 on the year.
Yeah, Providence schedule is so much tougher, and that's our game of the week to call. Hornig is a stud. Bivens is a stud. Talking to some coaches, they said that Providence is much like Yorktown in the sense that they don't give up any points. Their passing is spot on.
Yeah.
The only team that everybody's told me the only team that passes better than Providence is Yorktown. And so, with that being said, once again, taking care of the ball being the mantra for winning teams. I think Providence just takes care of it way too well, and I think they beat New Albany in 3.
I agree. I think New Albany, good start, but Providence, like you said, day in and day out is playing on a unbelievable schedule.
Providence is starting to separate from the rest of the pack. I said last week that Yorktown was the number one team. They were the alpha, and then there were 9 teams just trying to figure it out. Providence is starting to trend towards getting it figured out and starting to make it start to run after or chase after
1, 2, and then 8.
Yeah, it may well be. It may well be.
Yep. All right, Raymond James players to know. We continue on that. 5 stud kids here as well.
Yeah, and once again, there's no rhyme or reason to this. These are just we wanted to pick 5 kids for the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season that just really people need to go out and see.
Yep.
I mean, these guys are just great players. First one on our list is MJ Hamill, junior out of Center Grove, going to Wisconsin. Great floor general. Beautiful. Her strengths are probably her accuracy and her game demeanor, her game savvy. She knows the game as well, if not better than most. The Wisconsin recruit is if not is trending towards the best setter in the state of Indiana. Her and Melanie Schaffmaster, and she's a gifted kid, an AAU All-American, and really does a beautiful job running that Center Grove offense.
I was amazed from her stats last year that she was almost averaging 10 assists per set.
Yeah, that's impressive.
I mean, that's crazy impressive. 122 blocks in the year, which
and a big physical kid at the net. So that's where she has a huge edge.
Yep, no doubt. Next on the list,
Lexi Almodovar. I watched her this weekend. Her Noblesville team a little beat up, got beat by Newcastle in 3, but 3 pretty entertaining games. One of the real true pass to attack kids in the state, heading to Dayton, probably going to be a bro at Dayton, but right now hits on the pin for Steve Hawthorne. Hawthorne told me she's averaging about 21 kills per match, which is a huge number. Got a big jump serve, good handle on the ball, one of the better passers in the area, and one of those few players that can pass to attack. Knuckles, I think, maybe the best in the state at the pass to attack game. But Lexi's right there with her.
Yeah.
And once again, an AAU All-American. A little smaller at the net, but she makes up with it with a lot of spice in the back row. Great player.
Yep. Next one on the list, Providence, one of your favorites.
Yeah, Allie Horning. Like I said, I got a chance to watch her when she was really little. She subbed in for a union team here in the 18s on the last weekend of 18s Power League MEPL. And just but never was, she was unflappable.
Yeah.
I mean, the kid she just goes. Hadn't committed anywhere yet, but as hard as it is to say, she may be the best of the bunch so far. And I'll tell you what, I've loved every Horning that's come through. She is a gifted kid, and she sits back and serve receive. She's got that same mojo that a Knuckles has, that a Murr has. She is tough to rattle. And all she does is stick passes and bomb balls. She's a great little ball player.
Pass to attack, another one.
Her sister going to play is probably trending towards a bro at Purdue, and Horning's going to have the same kind of game on her. Almost 400 digs last year as a pup. She's a real deal.
Yep.
Real deal.
No doubt. Next one, a fan favorite for both of us. One of the best kids around. So
she's a throwback kid.
Yeah.
In the sense that she just goes to war every single point. The one thing I've seen watching high school games, God dang it, guys, elite effort given on every ball. And to be a really, really gifted player, there needs to be an elite effort given on every single ball. I'm not saying elite performance. I'm not saying everybody has to be great, score every ball. I'm just saying you got to sell out and care on every ball. Kylie Murr's, like I said, she's throwback, man. She is elite effort on every single attempt that she has, whether it's passing, serving, defending. I'd like to see her really develop a little tougher serve before she heads away to Ohio State. But right now, as good a player, almost 800 digs last year, and she's moving. She's going to be better than it this year. Very gifted young lady, and one of my favorites of all time. But the Yorktown senior anchors that Yorktown team that makes very few errors and really just keeps the ball off the floor.
Yeah. Well, you just talked about 754 digs last season.
Yep.
The number that really stuck out to me, 33 reception errors in the entire season.
No, it's insane. And she's going to be less this year.
Yeah.
That's insane.
All right. Next one, a rising sophomore.
Raven Colvin, Heritage Christian. I like that Heritage Christian team. The setting is very good. The middles are both young and aggressive, and they're going to be really good. Raven Colvin, the Purdue commit, is outstanding. Really gifted athlete. And I think that Dave Shondell can't wait to get her in the gym because she's really his type of kid. Flyer, first step speed is tremendous, very good laterally. And as a freshman, 93 blocks.
Yeah.
And she's gonna top that this year. She's the go-to on that Heritage Christian team. When she's on, she's tough to stop.
Definitely.
She's much like the Amaya Jones kid last year at Tinley. When she got into a rhythm, really difficult to stop her. Colvin's the same kind of kid, a sophomore, and you're going to be able to watch her for a couple years. Really going to be a standout.
Yeah. All right, next part we talked about Mount Rushmore of volleyball. I thought it was kind of cool. LCC was tweeting us up, talking about your pick and how much that was an influence on her in the Lafayette area. She said two great choices.
Gil Gripe had an influence everywhere.
Yeah.
She influenced the boys' game, the girls' game, just the game. And we tend to forget people like Gil Gripe. But I love that the LCC guys said that Gil was a huge mentor.
Yeah.
And that's why she's on my Mount Rushmore.
All right. This week, so I don't cheat off of yours, I went, I started thinking about it, and last year I went with Steve Shondell about
Last year or last week?
Last week, sorry.
You're starting to lose it. This whole marriage thing's starting to really wear on you. I know, brother. Wait till you get married. It's going to be a lot worse.
And just how great of a competitor he is, and teacher, and influencer over the years. Next one I went to, I'm going Jim Craig, and the reason why is he is the ultimate competitor. I just watched him. It's the same thing, hearing all the stories coming up through Wapahani. Didn't have the luxury of doing what Steve did championship-wise. Yeah. But
single class system coach, greatest band director, volleyball coach in the history of the game.
Jumped off a roof.
Yep, great intensity. Really altered volleyball a lot in this area and continues to do so. Maybe the ultimate teacher.
Yeah,
great teacher of life, of the game, of a lot of things. Jim Craig, wow.
And the reason why I threw that out there too is I watched him be a very hard-nosed guy in the last few years. I've got to know him. And not that he's getting soft, but he is. I got to know him a little bit, and he does care about the kids. He does care about coaching and teaching, and he's a
wow. No, that's a great call. There's so many great coaches, and you look at it right now. Bloom and Parika, those guys are. Just because they haven't done it forever, those guys are about ready to put their faces up there, in the near future. I mean, there's some great coaches out there, and I look at the coaches that have come before him. Jim Craig, definitely one of those guys. That like I said, Deb McClurg and some of the others. The Conlon. I mean, there's just been so many really gifted people that made this game what it is for everybody. My pick this week is Gene Casterson. I will tell you that once again has impacted the game on both sides, the boy and the girls game.
Yeah.
Tremendous record, and this isn't all about winning championships, but she has still got her hand in the game and absolutely loved the game and brought great passion to the table every time she stepped up.
Yep.
You know, and she's a fantastic mentor. She's a fantastic model, and there's no way I could ever leave her off. So two guys that, you know, one that was a little, that wasn't one that people would have predicted, and one that everybody knew. Jean Kestersen's got to be up there. That's the kind of career she's had. Our Mount Rushmore so far, that we've got, Randy's got Steve Shondell and Jim Craig up on there. I've got Gail Gripe and Jean Kestersen up, and so we'll see next week. But good choices, good choices. Let's get on with the rankings here.
GearMunciana.com. We talked about it. There's some, you know, next week I'm going to start putting out how many undefeated teams we still got left, because it's amazing how many.
Yes,
we got like 8 and 1A, numerous and 2A, 3A's got a ton. I mean, it's unbelievable. But give you a rundown on a few of them. LaPelle's 8-0. Mount Vernon's 8-0. Michigan City is now 9-0. Brebeuf's 8-0.
LaPelle or LaPorte?
LaPorte, sorry.
It's the marriage thing. I'm telling you right now. And any of you guys that are married, if you can tweet in, let him know that this is going to get much worse. He's going to start forgetting milk. He's going to get yelled at for a lot of things. But LaPorte is 8-0. LaPelle is not.
No, they have 1 loss.
Okay, let's go.
And
LaPorte,
then,
Mount Vernon,
Michigan City 9-0, and then Brebeuf, we talked about Brian Murray and the crew now 8-0.
Yeah, those guys have all got to be in our honorable mentions. You know, they all have to move in there. Brebeuf's really probably the one threatening to become to get in there. Mount Vernon having a record season and taking down folks at Eric Beaumont's group is, you know, that program is totally turned around.
Yep.
And so all those undefeated. My other 2 honorable mentions that I'll add to those 2, Burris. Burris doing some wonderful things at 8-1, and another undefeated team, LCC, still the pride of 1A, and right on the cusp of being in the top 10. Those would be my 2 that I would add to your 4 undefeated.
I agree. And really, the only loss Burris has is to Penn, which is a top 10 team. Which and it was 18-16 the 5th.
Yes.
Number 10?
Carroll. Carroll stays at 10. I like what they're doing. You know, I like I said, I think that we're trending towards Carroll and Dwenger. You know, bouncing off the Summit City war. Carroll, this is the best Carroll team since Jackie Quaid played there. Well coached, handle the ball well. They're my number 10. They took down Heritage and Snyder this week. Probably haven't played as intense a schedule as some of the other guys in the top 10, but they're coming.
Yeah.
And you know, they played against Hamilton Southeastern, beat them.
Yeah.
And fared well in the tournament early this season. I'm anxious to see how much better that team can get.
I'll tell you what, the only thing that does suck for Carroll, though, is their regional. They are in the deadliest regional in the world. It is the HSC sectional, the Yorktown sectional, the Zionsville sectional. And that last year they were in that, and that was the opening game.
Yep.
So,
number
9?
Penn. I like Penn. As well coached a team as there is in the state. A lot of talent. You're still a little up and down. You know, they're still trying to figure out system, trying to figure out each other. Physical, playing faster and faster every time you see them. You know, and all they're doing is winning. They didn't have as deep a schedule. I mean, a toughest schedule this past week, but picked up about 5 or 6 wins.
Yeah.
And then took down Burris in 5. I was a little surprised Burris took them 5. But they did show a little moxie and roll through it and win the 18-16, and they hold their 9 spot.
Yep. All right, number 8.
Center Grove.
Yep.
Their only loss was to Mercy. Mercy out of Kentucky, which isn't a bad loss. Yeah. Always one of the best teams in the country, not in the state, but a tremendous team. And like I said, this team, as they start to learn the offense and their attackers start to get comfortable with where they're at. You know, a solid little right side player. Young lefts, and one young Penn is going to be really, really good. And you got a center that can get the ball to you. You know, at the end of the season, you know, guys that take care of the ball that's paramount. Taking care of the ball, but at the end of the season, leadership and having a setter that can be a floor general is critical. This team has no concerns with the floor general. MJ Hamill, as good as there gets.
Yep. All right, number 7.
Dwenger. Dwenger is, I believe, right now the best team in Fort Wayne. I think that when them and Carroll match up, it's going to be intriguing, but I think Dwenger is the better team. And keep in mind, this is a Dwenger team that really, for all rights and purposes, gave Newcastle all they wanted last year in the tournament. And this Dwenger team is still pretty loaded, and I think right now starting to gain a lot of confidence. Dwenger holds their pole position.
Their only loss, actually, to Belmont.
Yeah.
and 5. So
Yeah, and Belmont's up and down. Belmont came up here to Yorktown's tournament, had a rough go.
yeah,
But Belmont's a little up and down. They're also a team trying to figure it out.
that's what McMahon told me today. She said we came up to Yorktown and got a rude awakening.
I think they lost 4 times.
Yes.
That's pretty rude.
Yeah.
Dwenger, though, I think is really the pride of that area.
Number 6.
HSE. Only loss this week was to Providence, and there's going to be a lot of people lose to Providence. You know, I think that he's got kids in the middle of the court that can play. He
finally got over Brownsburg.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
beat him for.
Yeah, I haven't beaten them for a century, and you know they're good. You know, Taylor Shelton is the real deal. The Mills kid in the back row can flat out play. If you haven't had a chance, and the upcoming segment will really focus on different positions. She's one of the kids that may be one of the best DS/liberos in the state of Indiana, and most people aren't aware of her significance. She is really, really good. Phillips' kid dishes the rock. It's a really good team, and I think that Jason really enjoys his team, and as they continue to come together, he's going to enjoy them a lot more. They just got to get comfortable playing with each other.
Yeah. All right, top 5.
Fishers remains in the 5 slot. You know, they didn't lose. No one lost in front of any of these guys, and so I've got to keep them all put right there. The Fishers is trending towards a big showdown with HSE.
Yeah.
And
the Mudsock.
The Mudsock. But Fishers, you know, handled Chittard, handled Zionsville. Fisher's going to handle a lot of people. You know, like I said, they've got tremendous athletes. A little Hayworth kid on the pin can play. They got the great middle, big physical kid that's going to be a matchup nightmare. And they got a setter that can get the ball there. Much like the MJ Hamill comment, Duffy is as gifted a leader as there is in the state of Indiana. And I will tell you, the most underrated setter, maybe in this part of the country. And so Fisher's right now still trending ahead of HSE and the rest of the pack, and starting to find the rhythm.
Yep. All right, number 4.
Avon. Avon, once again, new coach, trying to figure things out. Even though the coach had previously been there with Scott McQueen, they're still trying to figure out what they got. But I will tell you, you know, whenever Eastridge is standing on the right side of the court for you, that's a good thing to have.
Yep.
You know, they got the Carmichael kid who's doing a lot of playing, coming out of the back row primarily right now. She was a gifted kid in the state championship runs. She's, you know, they've got good senior leadership. You know, they're still trying to, you know, they're breaking in a newer, younger setter that took Goins' place. But that team's got good ball control. They've got good leadership at the, you know, with some skilled players like Eastridge and Carmichael. And they didn't lose either.
Yeah.
You know, they went 5 with Carmel, and that was a scare, but they came back and handled people after Noblesville. You know, and Steve Hawthorne referenced that, you know, that Noblesville, they blasted away. He thinks that Avon may be the best serving team in the state of Indiana. Steve Hawthorne also wanted me to let everybody know that in a 3-game span, he will play 3 state champions back to back to back. And he got Avon. Saturday he ended up playing Newcastle, and then he gets the 1A state champions next week. So he's not backing down from anybody. And when he says that Avon may be the best serving team he's played all year, that's saying quite a bit.
No doubt. All right, number 3.
Newcastle. Newcastle is still trying to figure out playing hard every point. You know, Mel Schaffmaster is the most dominant athlete to be at Newcastle High School since Kent Benson. And just big and physical and a matchup nightmare. I'm not taking anything away from any athlete that's ever been at Newcastle. I'm just saying physicality and matchup problems. She puts a lot of matchup problems on the board. And, you know, if she can get herself and that group playing hard every point. Now, keep in mind, this time next week, they're going to have all of their players back. Everybody's back. The shelves are stocked. And that'll be interesting to see what happens. It's going to be interesting to see how they have to change the lineup, or if they do change the lineup. Integrating new guys in after 7 or 8 games is always difficult. But maybe Bailey Cox, maybe one of those guys provides the impetus to play hard on every single point. That would be my one thing that I think keeps Newcastle from trending towards breaking away from the pack, is they're still trying to figure out how to go hard on every point, both offensively and defensively. But I keep them at 3 because there's just an awful lot of talent in the cupboard.
Yeah, it'll be cool to see what they look like when everything's rolling.
Yeah, and I'm sure Coach Sarah Roush will enjoy that as well. Seeing what her team finally looks like. Everybody's been in the team picture, but not everybody's been on the floor.
Yep. All right, number 2.
Providence. And like I said early in the show, Providence is starting to break away from the other 9. I see some things, and it's about ball control. I don't know what's so hard about this. College guys, give these guys, ball control guys, they'll only give them 1-2 years, and sometimes they beg them to walk on. I'm telling you, first ball contact skills. How you pass it. How you pass this is a point reduction, meaning it will. If we pass it well, we don't bleed points. How we serve it is a point production skill. We serve bullets. We can keep big teams off the net. We can isolate and identify who's going to attack based on our serve. Providence plays that game, and Terry Perica coaches and preaches that game. Based on everything everybody's told me, other coaches, other fans, Providence is the most like Yorktown in the sense that they handle the ball on the first ball contact, serve, receive, almost. And keep in mind, I said almost as well as Yorktown. And that's why I have Providence up there. And I have Providence starting to trend towards separating from the pack.
Yep. And number 1?
The pack. I know my people in Wapahani and some of the other places are getting tired of hearing it. I will tell you this. When I think of historic runs, I think of some of the runs by Gene Kesterson with Cathedral. They were legendary. There's really, in my mind, 2 or 3 teams that have had legendary dynasty-type runs. Cathedral, and those runs were largely built at the net. Just big, strong, physical kids that played college-type volleyball in the high school setting. Gene Kesterson's teams dominated the net with a physicality that this state has never seen. That was how their legacy was born. On the other end of the spectrum was Burris.
Definitely.
And Steve Shondell's groups just took care of the ball. What the key was to Steve Shondell's legacy and his dynasty, and when they had some of the best teams or the greatest teams in the history of the state, it was what they didn't do. Their net play was significant because they got isolated one-on-ones because of an unbelievable and unparalleled, and you couldn't imitate what they did, taking care of the ball.
Yeah.
Much like Yorktown. In between, the other legacy that I had would probably have been Muncie Central, Dave Shondell / West Lyon.
Yep.
And those teams had a great legacy to them, and they were half and half. They did the net game a little bit, not quite what Cathedral did, and the ball handling game, not quite what Burris did. That was one of the great legacies of the game and one of the great dynasties. Those 3 teams, I thought, had historic runs and would probably be on a shelf above all of the other teams in the history of the game. Yorktown is about to do that. Yorktown's about to do it. Yorktown is at a rate right now. I talked about in-play efficiency. They're not giving up errors. These guys are not giving you points. And I don't know if anybody can beat them 3 times in one night. I just don't know that. I think they may ultimately hiccup and make a couple of errors, and you may still win. But I'm telling you, unless you play at 80% in-play efficiency, I mean, you're not going to give up points. They're going to make you play so clean that I think the pressure to play that clean is what's breaking teams down. And you'll feel like you're in a game with Yorktown, and you'll go tit for tat, and somebody bombs a ball. They were talking about Ron Colley this weekend. They're going toe-to-toe. Stacey Pennard told me if you're just sitting there watching it, you're going, whoa, what a great match. Then you look at the scoreboard, it's 16-8. Because you'll trade a point, they'll trade a point, they'll get a run of 3. And it'll be based on you making a couple of errors. You'll trade a point, they'll get a point, then they'll get a run of 3 based on a couple of errors by you. And that's what they do to separate. Best team in the state of Indiana right now, Yorktown. We'll see if you getting married changes that. I think the Boons, everything's going to start shifting really weird in the next couple of weeks. Hell, just the fact that I'm going to be in Alabama for 4 straight days is going to probably, you won't even be able to recognize my voice next week. It'll be the slang and all, just the whole twang is going to blow you guys away. The big fellow will be showing you the band on his left hand. It's Our world's changing. Cats and dogs are friends. I don't know exactly what's going to happen next week, but the one thing I do know is Yorktown's the best team in the state of Indiana this week. And I think by the time we get together next week, I'll be singing the same song. Until then, though, think about the married man. We'll see you guys be great sports fans. Enjoy volleyball this week. Thanks.